you can get your listings localized. You can get your e-commerce translated to different languages, because people love to hear everything in their own language, and people are quite, surprised when they see that the website has their own language, especially if it's a small language, let's say like Danish or Dutch or even Italian, because those markets are not as big as German market or UK market. So what you can do is like you can localize your text, find something that's like really typical for that culture, and you can get all the text translated and localized. So that can make you actual boost in sales, and that can also increase your profit a lot, because you kind of you make your website something that the market is hungry for.
Number one, you've obviously got the language issue. So that, especially for Japan, it looks very intimidating. It's not using the Roman alphabet for a start. So it feels, for many sellers, what is going on here. So that's the first challenge. Now, there are companies that, translation agencies, people that can help you with that. So you can solve that way. The second, when launching into Japan, is the logistics side. You need to get your products into Japan. So obviously, again, you need help with that, which, again, there are various logistics companies that can help do the import and get your products to get them to Japan for you, so you can start selling. And then the third one is compliance. So if you're selling like electrical goods or toys or food related products, then there are various rules that you need to adhere to, which can be very challenging indeed, and adds an extra layer of expense, because a lot of the same rules and regulations for European sellers and US sellers, they're different in Japan. So that's the third challenge.
I mean, one of the big ones that we'd always talk about is utilizing your marketplaces. A lot of people, I completely understand why, but they'll start off in the United States and selling in the United States, and that's the only marketplace that they ever go to, because they feel, hey, it's big enough. But the United States has got a lot of competition. It's not oversaturated or anything like that, but it is more competitive. Whereas the vast majority of people never really look towards Europe. And the European nations that are on Amazon and their satellite countries are a hell of a lot bigger than the United States in terms of population. And a lot of people don't realize that. Whenever you look at, say, the United Kingdom, Germany, France, Italy, and Spain, you're talking about 330 million of a population there, which on their own is bigger than the US population. You start putting in satellite countries that speak the same or similar language, who can buy off these other countries, like of Ireland speaking English, the Austrians, the Swiss speaking German, some of the other European nations speaking a similar language to German or French or Spanish. And all of a sudden, you're up into 500 million of a population. So look towards that European marketplace, because a lot of people have been afraid of things like, VAT and thresholds, and that word that if I had $10 for every time I heard of Brexit, people get all these different things in their mindset. But selling in Europe is not difficult. You just got to follow the procedure, and all of a sudden, you've just opened up and doubled your business overnight.
If it comes to European countries, 100% correct translations. Trust me, I've seen it with my own eyes. People are getting very frustrated when you don't have correct translations.
If you sell the product in Japan, to begin with, you have to explore the culture, because and you have to see what the market wants. You really have to do the research for that. And how you can do the research, and probably a lot of people don't even have the native speakers they can talk to. They can go to Facebook expat groups, and they can give a sample of the product or an idea, and people like to comment on that. So you can get a genuine information from the actual Japanese or German or French people, just by going to a Facebook group and asking people what they think about it. So it's not that difficult to get some idea to localize it. If you want to have a cultural stamp on it, you just go to For instance, like if you live in Oslo, for instance, you can go to Facebook expat group in Oslo and then just ask like, hey guys, like, you know, are there any Australians around here? And then you can ask a question, because it can be in your own language. You don't have to like go and ask this in English. Like if you're Norwegian, you go to a Norwegian expat group and you're like, what do you think about this product? Like, what does like do? Get it good or not? You know, you can also ask questions on Reddit. You can ask on Quora. You know, you can go around and you don't have to pay for any like super expert who's gonna like do the research of your market. Like this is something you can do yourself. A lot of people like want to find ways to save money, and for instance, you can save money on this because, you know, you don't have to pay a lot of money to get information about it. And for instance, like we had a client and he had like this cover for iPhone, and he did something like this. He did like this research. His team did the research, and then they told him, like in this Japanese group, they're like, well, I think you should add like bunny ears on your cover. And they're like, this should like really, really good, but like with bunny ears. And this only works in Japan. Like they would not say this to you in France, you know. It's like something that is really important. So I think that you should like physically, or maybe, you know, just like a French flag or something, you know, or like Norwegians, they're like really big patriots, and, you know, like you just kind of find something which is really interesting for the market. And then you can maybe like customize the product a little bit, or you can just kind of write in the description of the product somewhere that's going to be really close to the target audience.
Omnichannel, you know, let's say you're selling on Amazon.com. You can go on Amazon.ca, UK, Canada, Japan, Mexico. It's one of the fastest way to boost your sales right away. Like, not right away. I mean, it's like you branch off your, you know, all the channels, and you're going to get more and more sales.
Hardest is for me is content in terms of multilingual content, because there's no simple way of doing it, because you need native people, you need to have a look, you need to have people who understand SEO optimization, e-commerce, and talking about benefit. You're not only translating, you're giving flavor to your because content is so paramount. Because before we were selling products in Europe and States, and we would have a packaging and have all the translation of the bullet points and whatever on the packaging, but nobody was really reading it because you had the product in store, so people would look at it and say, okay, I want it or I don't want it. Now, I mean, the content is everything. So if you really need to have something which is good, and there's no simple way. You can look at Amazon. Sometimes they use Google Translate to translate content on pages, but it's awful. I mean, as a consumer, when you come to see and you see the language is nonsense, you don't want to buy. So that's a very difficult one to scale.
In the States, like we have a lot of clients in the States, and then all sorts of products or web commerces, they are all like have this like salesy language, like look at our fabulous product, this is so awesome, like, you know, get it while it's hot, blah blah blah, you know. But you cannot transfer that to German. Like that does not work like that at all. And a lot of people don't understand that. But like in German, you cannot be like so playful with the language and like with the descriptions and stuff. It's like, you know, all structure and discipline, and that's how it is. And people like it that way. And you cannot just, you know, you cannot like make it different. And people are not gonna love that. You're not gonna sell your product the way you should, you know, if you just keep it that way. Japanese people, they never gonna buy any cosmetic brands, like ever. They like Nivea and they like some Korean products, but everything which comes like from Europe or the States, they're like really not gonna buy it. They're really biased when it comes to all sorts of other products. So it's a no-go. And Spanish people, they don't read their listings or product descriptions that much. If they like the product, they're going to buy it. So they're not going to go like reading and descriptions and like, let me Google this and stuff. They don't do a lot of research. They're just going to buy the product if they like it. Italian market is very, very small. And I would never suggest anyone starting on Italian market unless they know they have this smashing hit product. They're absolutely sure it's going to be a big hit on the Italian market. German market can like sell everything. if you follow the certain rules. So German market is all about rules, and Spanish market is all about love to the product, and French is about it's gonna divide it. They want to hear good French. They're like, this is not good. Like, you know, you have the wrong article here, and you know, like, so they're kind of, I don't want to sound like the, you know, but they're like kind of language Nazis a little bit. So you know, that's what we've learned so far from about the different markets, you know. And just Americans just want that everything sells, and it says like sales pitch and like, you know, go grab it. I want my product to be sold, and they just want this feel that like you're super excited about reading about this product, and after a product you want to hear like add to cart. You know, that's like call to action and add to cart.
So I think there are two things that we've learned about selling our products in Japan that we wouldn't have known before we'd done it. The first is around the alphabet and keywords. So Japan has three different alphabets. So initially, it's kind of like in English using a thesaurus. You need, you know, there's 3 ways of writing a particular word in Japan, and what you think is going to be the right word is not necessarily the right word that people actually search for. So using the customer search data to help influence the words that you use in your product is, I'd say, yeah, very important really. And to go through that process, we kind of learned that. I don't know if the hard way is the right way to say it, but you know, we put what we thought was the main keyword for this product, and it turned out that people were using an entirely different word for that product. It was just written in a different way. So yeah, but by checking the reports and things, we came across that. The second thing I think that we've found selling on Amazon Japan, I think people think they can overthink how complicated it's going to be. You know, one of the questions I get asked quite a lot is, what type of products sell well on Amazon Japan? And the answer is, it's very similar to the type of products that sell on Amazon.com or Amazon in Europe or the UK or wherever, you know. People are people, and they want the same types of things, and they like things at a good price. So not overthinking things is, I think, another factor to think about. It's not as complicated as people think.
Also e-commerce, like for instance, like if you're selling in the UK or Norway or somewhere else, people like a lot to see their national entity on the product, or like something which is specially designed for them, especially designed for Norwegian market or for this market, for that market. So people like to see something customized from the country they come from or the culture they're like really interested in. Like Japanese market, they would like to see like mangas and stuff like that, like Hello Kitty and stuff. So if you customize that and you promote it in a way at, you know, as that's a cultural heritage of this market, it definitely gets better promotion than if you just kind of do your regular English promotion. Or, you know, like definitely localization is something that will help you, and there's like 1,000 ways on how to localize the website and the markets and stuff.
I think that if someone hasn't done it yet and they just want, you know, to continue making the brand bigger in US, they don't really know lots about business. When you do business, you need to do, how they call it, risk allocation is the correct word, I don't know, to divide the risk in very different, you know, locations. Also, if you want to sell your business, what do you think is better, to sell a business that is only in the US or to sell a business that it's all over the world? The answer is pretty obvious, a business that's all over the world. Also, if this business is also in the retail, more access. If this business has lots of email, you know, contacts, more access. It's pretty simple, but nobody's doing it. That's what I believe.
For example, you have your content and you see, okay, we get a lot of feedback. A customer is saying he doesn't understand something on my product. Okay, then I need to update my content to explain that more, because I've got a lot of, but you do that and then you've got 5 countries. So you need to go back to translators to translate everything. And then you say, I forgot this. And then it becomes, so you need really a very tight process, and you need to be very organized for that. And most of the time that's where it's very costly, And in some countries, like in e-commerce, Spain or Italy, can be smaller markets, for example. So you could ask yourself, okay, do I want to spend the money in Spanish or in Italian to go on that market?
So I think one of the ways that we do listings slightly differently in Japan is Japanese people seem to like images a lot more, and especially annotated images. So a lot of Japanese web design, for example, it's not as, how shall I put this, clean and crisp as we see a lot of digital trends, you know, in Europe and the US, for example. You know, a website over here, it's, you know, often quite pure, there's a lot of white space. In Japan, you don't get much white space. It's just like a blur on the page. So we see that in Amazon listings too. Images are often annotated with lots of text on there. And that's what Japanese people are. They seem to be used to it, whether or not they like it or not. But they're definitely used to it. And I think having that, they expect that information there within their images. So it's a factor that we think about when we're setting up listings and helping clients set up listings.
The biggest problems are that those people don't speak language at all. Like those are people from the States or the UK, and they don't speak the language, and they think it's a language is a big barrier, you know. And then what can happen wrong is that people copy paste wrong listings and wrong place at Amazon Central. And I just came across to there was a client last week, and he sent me his German listing, which was not doing good, because we do also free audit. And he told me okay, what's wrong with my German listing? It's having 0 sales. It's a really good product. Ever since I updated, it doesn't work. So I take a look at the listing, and only the title was in German and the rest of it was in Italian. So he just, and that happens all the time because these people don't know what they're pasting. They don't care. They just give it to a VA from Filipino, and they just kind of, insert all the text and stuff like that. So a lot of times it's really a bad idea to not use somebody who's really transparently going to write what is a title, what are bullets and stuff like that. So that happens a lot of time that people kind of copy paste wrong parts of listing and wrong parts of something else in the Amazon Central, talking about Amazon. And that really, causes a lot of great losses,
They expand to Europe, let's say, which was my expertise, to help them expand to Europe. And what they actually do is that they think that they're just going to open the listings, that they're going to, start draining money. Europe is not like that. It's more delicate in general. So you need actually to work, as I said before, all the translations, to have the very good customer support. You need to have the products. Not every product can work in Europe. You need to be, your listing need to be more optimized, sorry. You need to have the correct keywords. So there are ways to say something in English and ways to say something in American language, let's say. So in general, I know people that invested in Europe. So they invest a good amount of money and then they let it like that. And of course, they lost it. So in the end of the day, that's some big failures that I've seen in my life.
Well, listings and graphics, if you don't want to change your product, because it's going to be some charge for that, I think it's good to, alter the graphics and maybe the approach, because maybe something is going to be very offensive for the country. Because for instance, Dolce & Gabbana, what they did is a big disaster because they wanted to sell products in Chinese market. And then they made this commercial where they showed an Asian person eating pizza with chopsticks. And they found that very offensive because they're super offensive, sensitive about their culture. And that resulted in banning all Dolce & Gabbana online merchandise from the whole Chinese e-commerce market. So you don't want it to happen in something like that. And also Kim Kardashian, she wanted to launch this product called Kimono, and Japanese government went bananas over it. They're just we're not going to do that. So you really need to know what you're doing, and you should just ask the advice from the right people, and those are the people who actually live in those countries, and not ask American experts what they think about it. You should always go locally and have a local approach if you want to expand to other market when it comes to products. Definitely translations that also should be localized, And graphics, you know, maybe you can put like some graphics on, like we're gonna be make it more special, or you know, something that people would love to see in the country.